What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you the test hand combo video for the budget branded Bystial profile I showed you guys the other day. So this is obviously without the Bystial Rebellion because that has shot through the roof in value, but it still utilises all of the good parts that they can get away with on a much tighter budget. As a disclaimer, the rarities shown in this profile do not reflect the lowest cost of the deck. Obviously, if you use a bit of a common sense, you go and buy the deck with its lowest rarities and it will still be budget. I just really like the artworks of all of this archetype and wanted to max rarity it to make it look even better. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Should you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. I will also try and leave a link into the description for the deck list and go from there. So after a very decent shuffle and a good old cut, our first test hand going first will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Broken, full combo and then some. So I'm going to activate Patchwork, and the reason that I quite like playing Patchwork in this version is because you don't want to just get ashed and that's it, end of turn. So there are ways when you have all of the Bystials that you can kind of play through stuff a little bit more so, but you still need to, you know, kind of make some plays. So what we're going to do is we're going to shove this up, we're going to activate Branded Fusion, and we're going to go into what is my basically new favourite combo of this deck, and that is when you open up a Bystial, you send the Merry Courier, and you send your Fawn of Albaz, and you go into the Rimbrum. The best thing about the Rimbrum is the fact that it doesn't target as well, so it can out-Dragoon, which a lot of people are trying to play to kind of deal with the Kashtira matchup. If you're going first, I always put my monsters in defense, unless there is a massive drop in their stats, purely because you don't want to just face a Lightning Storm. Obviously, that'll be a little bit more relevant games 2s and 3s, but just keep that in mind. Off this as well, we're now going to activate the Saronir. Saronir will target the Merry Courier to banish that and summon itself down, and this will allow you to trigger the Merry Courier's effect. Now, we've already got the Cartesia, so the next kind of best thing you can go for is either the main Albion Dragon, which I personally quite like, or you could go for the kit. The reason you'd go for the kit is because you have Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard or a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz on the field. You can special summon her for free, and then that will allow you to add a branded spell or trap and then put one back. So I could have special summoned her, put the explosion back to the bottom of the deck and then draw one card. However, the reason I've gone with the Albion Dragon is because it would save me sending... I mean, it pretty much gets the same outcome because I'm still going to go into Dust Dragon. I suppose let's do it with kit actually. Basically what you're doing is you're swapping a random draw for a more direct route. So we'll go with kit, just because I've got the expulsion that I don't really like. I mean, it's not a bad card to have, but we'll shuffle this up. And now what you've got the ability to do is you can special summon down the Cartesia. You can use the Cartesia's effect. You'll fuse your Saronir and your Cartesia, and you'll go into your Griglion Dust Dragon. You'll then be able to go training 1 Griglion, training 2 Saronir. Now, obviously, with 2 off the Saronir, you want to be sending your branded in white. There you go. And this is what I'm saying. Like, so if I had chosen to add the Albion Dragon, then what I would have done is I would have used the Dust Dragon to send from my extra deck to the graveyard a different branded monster. So I would have been able to send one of the Mirror targets. And then basically what you're doing is you then get the Albion and an Artist to give you a Branded Fusion guaranteed follow-up for the next turn, and you'll get a Branded in red or an Expulsion. So we're going to resolve this. We're going to send the Albion from the deck. And the reason that you send the Albion is so that you can use Albion's effect to put it back to the bottom of the deck and send a Retribution, or you can send a Sword. So we're going to go with Retribution, because then what you do is you banish the Retribution and you add back your branded in white. So you've kind of looped your abilities, and this is how you're going to get into Mirror, just shuffling this up to put Albion back to the bottom of the deck. There we go. So pretty much from one card, which is how we've replenished our hand, we've ended up getting 2 fusion monsters. Now obviously we're going to burn through our resource a little bit more, but this is all because Branded Fusion is the nuts of a card. So we still have a lot more plays to do. So we're going to use Spring Gun's effect. Because we control a monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as material, we get to special on this card, and then we get to add a branded card and then put a card from our hand back into the deck. So it depends what you want to go for, really. You're going to ultimately go for 2. Keep in mind as well that we haven't actually used Albaz, so we can get a lot more onto the board, and we've got the poly. So I suppose this is going to let us, you know, really put our opponent in a tough situation. Now, the one card I don't want in my hand, ideally, is Expulsion, because I haven't got the Ra's Disciple in the graveyard, so I'm not going to be able to go through the lock combo. This is probably where you want to be. Now, at this point, I'm going to activate Branded Opening, and my Branded Opening is going to discard the Edge Imp Chain, because Chain has the great effect that if it's sent from hand or field, you get to add a Fright Fur card, which will be your Patchwork. So you get to search out a second Patchwork, should you play it, which we do, and we'll also be able to special summon out an Aluba. Now, I could bring out Tragedy, I could bring out Drama, but the reason you go for the Aluba is because we're then going to use Aluba's effect, and this will then give us a branded card. So you can go for a Sword, you can go for a Banishment. Personally, I think Banishment might be a little bit more effective because we're not playing the Adler Bison play. You could also play Branded in red to go into your Chimera play. So it really depends on which one you think is more effective for the matchup, and then choose from that one that you want. So we'll go with this one for now. We've already used Patchwork, so we can't use that effect again, but what we can do is we can go that little bit further. So I'm going to activate Polymerization, I'm going to fuse the Kit and the Aluba, and on this one you can just go for a Masquerade. Like, this is just, not over, I wouldn't say overextension, but it does give you that nice little additional that every time your opponent activates something, they're going to, you know, trip away at their life points and burn down some. Then activate the Branded in White. The Branded in White will now allow you to banish... Where are we? Let's banish... Albaz and Chain. This will let you go into the Lubellion. You then use Lubellion's effect, and the card you want to discard is the Patchwork you've just searched out. This is going to let you spin 2 back, so you're going to spin back the Lubellion, and you're going to spin back the Albaz. And this is going to allow you to go into Mirror Jade. There we go. And then this is where it gets really fun. So I didn't even know this was the first time I ever put this one together. But use Mirror Jade's effect, you send as cost. So you send Albion Dragon. There you go. And then you use the Rimbrum's effect to negate the Mirror Jade, and it will still be live during your opponent's turn. You'll set the Branded in red, and then you'll also get the Albion effect to resolve, and this can then give you either a Branded Fusion, so you've got a follow-up for the next turn, or if you want to go all out, you can go for a Branded Banishment. Be very careful if you do it this way, you are leaving yourself wide open to a evenly matched. So be very, very careful if you do this at a different stage of the game. And in the end phase as well, you'll also be able to loop back the Cartesia to your hand. So we've ended up getting 4 very powerful monsters on the board. We've got the ability of Branded in red, which will allow us to target the Aluba in the graveyard, add it back to the hand, so we do have a follow-up for the next turn if we choose not to fuse with the Aluba, because in theory you could fuse with the Cartesia and then loop it back again. And the card you'd probably want to put in the graveyard will definitely be something like your Rimbrum, because you can bring it back as well. And that's it for the test stand number 1. So you can kind of see how important a Saronir is, and how strong Branded Infusion is, because like the pair of them together are just absolutely crazy nuts. We burnt through a lot of our deck, and the best thing about that is if an Ash did stop us, yes, it wouldn't have been as good, but we still would have been able to get into something like a Masquerade to slow the game down a little bit. Cartesia could have got us into the Dust Dragon, which ultimately leads you into routes to try and get you into the Mirror Jade plays as well. So we're going to shuffle this up, and we're going to cut it up, and then we'll do another test stand going first, being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we'll be able to show you pretty much, I'll show you the control version now. I'm not going to show you the direct route that you can go again, because obviously I could do Branded Fusion, but I haven't got a Bystial to use the effects off of the back of. So we'll use the Patchwork just to kind of deck Finn straight away, so we'll get ourselves a Poly. And the best thing is we've opened up Fallen of Albaz, so if our opponent does stop our Branded Fusion, we still have plays to make. So we'll take Chain, and we'll take the second Poly. We'll normal summon the Aluba. Now the issue, I mean, you could hold the Aluba back because you'll telegraph what you have in your hand. So like if I normal summon this Aluba, and then don't search out Branded Fusion, my opponent knows I've got a Branded Fusion in hand. So there's no need to search out a second one, in my opinion. It really depends on how you want to do it. So ultimately you could go Branded Fusion, and if your opponent negates the activation of this, which is going to be difficult for them to do turn 1, but you kind of see where I'm going with this. We'll activate the Branded Fusion, and like I said, I'm going to show you the control version now, or the control route. So we send Fallen of Albaz. It's less effective, but in regards to like giving you as much advantage as possible, but it's very powerful at locking your opponent out. So your options are, you can send the Ra's Disciple, or you can send the Hexil. Hexil will get you into Dragoon, and then basically you still, because you've got that Poly, you've got that ability to get into Lubellion and do Mirror Jade plays and everything else you need. By going down this route as well, you still have plays to make, but it'll guarantee that you're going to be going for the Ra's Disciple lock play, and that's kind of what I want to show you guys. So we'll go with the Branded Fusion here, go into the Albion. Now you could go into a Lubellion if you want to, because keep in mind as well, you do also have the ability to banish from the hand. So it really depends on how direct you want to be. The poly is going to be able to give us, like literally this gives us a Lubellion, and then we discard the other poly and then you're good to rock and roll. By going down this route, again, it's entirely up to you on how you want your board to end, how far you want to go. So this is probably one of them ones where you might want to use a Luba first because it gives you that monster on the board. And you can loop it back around, depending on how you do it. So, what have we got? We've got Albaz plus a light. I don't really need a second Albion, which is of no use to me. I mean, the standard play of what you do is you banish the Albion Dragon and you banish the Albaz, and then you go on Mirror Jade. So like that's your one card play, because then what you need to do is you need to get an Albion to the graveyard, and that will then allow you to get the trap card, which gives you the lockout. Because of the rest of this hand, we're going to play this a little bit differently. Given one, we haven't even conducted a normal summon yet, so that's where Aluba's going to come into play. Aluba's effect is going to trigger. This is going to search you out a branded spell or trap. Now, just to guarantee that you've got the expulsion, you can search the expulsion right now, or you can set it during the end phase. Entirely up to you. So this one is you tribute a fusion monster, then target 2 non-fusion monsters that are banished or in either graveyard. So obviously you can target your own Albaz, you can target your Ra's Disciple, you name it. And then you special summon them 1 on each field. So we're going to shuffle this up. And again, we still have so many plays to make, it's crazy. So we'll activate Polymerization. Polymerization will use Fawn of Albaz and the chain in the hand. Just because we can. This is also a route that could have got you into a Mirror Jade. It really depends on how you want to do it. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. You'll then go Chainlink 1 Lubellion, and sadly you will need to discard the poly as it is by cost. Chainlink 2 will be the chains, which will search you out the patchwork. Like this is when you probably ideally wanted to ditch that a little bit earlier, but. And now what this lets you do is this lets you spin back some materials. So again, it depends if you want to go for a Masquerade. You can't go into the Rimbrum sadly, but you can go for the Masquerade. You could also go into your Brigand, the Glory Dragon, or you can go into a Quinteris. It depends what you're going to be facing, so keep that in mind of how you want to play. I'm going to put back Albaz, and I'm going to put back Aluba. It's going to give me the Quinteris. Just then I've got protection from battle phase. I've got a Lubellion set up for defensive place for the next turn, and everything else that I need. Also means that the Lubellion is free tribute fodder for the expulsion. So you've got 2 options here again, if you want to, is you can activate the Mirror Jade to get you another branded spell or trap, and you'd be getting rid of this, and then you'd be activating Expulsion to get rid of a Quinteris or the Mirror Jade or anything else you want. You'll probably get rid of the Mirror Jade because you would have already used this effect, so it really depends on how you want to play that. You'll pass to your opponent's turn, and then this is how it's going to work, is you're going to use this effect to tribute off the Lubellion. You'll target 2 that are banished, and or in the graveyard, and that's where you target the Ra's Disciple and your Albaz. The best thing about this is if your opponent puts a monster on the board before you activate this and then give them Ra, is you can then Fawn of Albaz. Funny thing as well, is if you activate the Expulsion to get rid of the Mirror Jade, so let's say we kept the Lubellion for example, and we activated this to get rid of the Mirror Jade, you could actually activate Expulsion, and then when Albaz is summoned back, you then get to ditch it, and this will then allow you to technically fuse with these 2, which is a light and a dark. So you get Albaz and a light. So you'd get rid of your ability to lock your opponent out, but you'd also get the ability to banish this, and summon out a second Mirror Jade. Keep in mind as well that you would have previously activated the Mirror Jade effect, so you would have an additional set card as well. So it's one of the ones that if you don't want to lock your opponent, you don't have to. You can just Mirror Jade it and go from there. So if they have a way to out it, for example, if they were like, okay, cool, I'm going to chain, I don't know, Book of Eclipse, you could, in theory, then chain, you activate the trap in a different way. So I'm just saying that it's not always just lock out and done. But if you do bring back an Albaz, you'll have that ability to contact fuse as well, and then that'll let you extend your plays that bit further. Okay, so now time to go second. What I'll do, like I did with the Dark World test stand videos, is I'll do a test stand going second unopposed, and then I'll do a test stand going second under a Kashtira end board. So for this one, we're going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, that hand's pretty nutty. You could have dropped either of the Bystials during your opponent's turn. Doesn't really make much of a difference on this one. I'm going to play this a little bit differently, and we're just going to go for an OTK push. So we'll normal summon the Aluba. Aluba's effect will trigger. Now again, as I said in the previous test stand, if you search out something that isn't Branded Fusion, you're probably telegraphing that you've got Branded Fusion. But for this one, because again I'm going a bit more aggressive, we'll go with Branded in red. Now one thing you need to keep in mind is going second is obviously going to be a little bit more dangerous. But in a scenario like this, apart from my opponent having a Fenrir to banish this, which we'll see in the next test stand, you're in an okay position. Like the Bystials are less effective because they're not going to hit the graveyard, or the Lights and Darks won't hit the graveyard. But we'll still be able to make some decent plays. So Branded Fusion, we'll send Merry Courier and the Albaz. And this is going to allow us to go into the Rimbrum, wherever it may be. There we go. Obviously going second, so you're going to be a lot more aggressive now. Going to activate the Saronir, we're going to banish the Merry Courier, we're going to summon the Saronir down, we're going to trigger the effect of the Merry Courier. It's going to search us out our Blazing Cartesia. And then what you want to do here is you can special summon down the Cartesia, use her effect to fuse herself with the Saronir, and that's going to go into the Dust Dragon. There we go. Chaining 1 Dust Dragon, chaining 2 Saronir. So Saronir will Foolish Burial. We're going to go down the same route on this one, branded in white. And Dust Dragon will Foolish Burial the Albion, putting it back to the bottom of the deck and sending the branded Retribution. Wherever it may be. Sorry, I've got Retribution in the hand. So we'll send Branded Sword. So we'll actually get a bit more benefit from this. So what you do here is you can banish the sword to add the Merry Courier back to the hand. You've got plenty of targets in the graveyard to banish off of the back of your Baldrake if you want to as well. And what you want to do is you could then trigger the effect of the Rimbrum to bounce a card. It's entirely up to you whether you do that now or do that later. You can decide. We'll then activate Branded in red. We will target... I mean, I'm going to use Tragedy anyway. The question is just whether or not... I mean, we're going aggressive, so why not? We'll add back the Albaz, and we'll fuse with Aluba, Tragedy, and I mean, I kind of want the Merry Courier to be a defensive option, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. We use the Merry Courier, obviously they all get banished. Let's go into Guardian Chimera. So we've used 1 on the field, we've used 2 in the hand, so we get to draw 2, pop 1, and we'll also be able to trigger the Tragedy effect as well. So Tragedy will search out Drama, and then Chimera will let us draw 2 and pop 1. And obviously we would have Rimbrummed as well. So draw 2, pop in 1, branded opening, that's okay. Branded opening's actually really nice. So if you just want to do a monster from your hand, use a monster from your hand or field as material, including Dragon Monster. If you use Fauna of Albaz. So I mean, I can go into pretty much anything. Okay, fine. So we'll activate Branded Opening. We'll put Albion in the graveyard. Albion does become Fauna of Albaz in the graveyard, which is really important. Go for an Aluba, just to kind of get that to the graveyard. I need to get Retribution to the graveyard actually. Yeah, so we'll keep the Albion Dragon and we'll send Retribution so that I can banish the Retribution to add back the Branded in white. Now Branded in white lets you fusion summon any fusion monster, but if you're using monsters, using Fauna of Albaz as fusion material, you can use it from the hand, field, or by banishing itself as well. So with the Branded in white, what you want to do is you want to use the Drama in the hand, and we'll use Albaz in the hand as well. So that can go into Lubellion. We'll also use the effect of Drama, so you can bring back Drama. Use Lubellion's effect, discarding a card, so we'll discard the Albion. Branded White's already gone. Albion will allow us to spin back itself. And Albaz to go into Mirror Jade. There we go. You can use Mirror Jade's effect. just because. I mean, it will clear a card off or not, it's up to you. We'll send the Brigand on this one because we're going for the OTK. I could use the Rimbrum's effect to return the Albion to the hand, so I could then special summon down Baldrake. But I mean, this is all overkill. Like, this one can't attack directly, but all of these are going to be attacking and doing full-on damage. So, a little bit unorthodox, some of the routes. I tried to change it. Each test hand, I tried to change it up. Like, there's no point in you guys watching 4 test stand videos that I do, and every single one is the same combo. Every single one doesn't show you breaking a board. Every single one does something different. So, we're going to shuffle this up, and then we'll build a cash board. So, we'll go off the strongest cash board. It's going to be a little bit more tricky in this deck to kind of out it in the easiest routes as possible. Like, the only way you out it is you normal summon an Albaz, or you go through Branded Fusion. So for the final test stand, what we're going to do is we're going to test it against the standard Kashtira end board, which will be 3 zones locked, a Rise Heart with at least 1 material, and then 1 card ripped from our extra deck. So we're going to shuffle this up. We'll draw our opening hand of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll draw our 6th card, which will be for turn. Now, obviously, as soon as we go into the standby phase, they'll be able to trigger Shangri-La, which will special summon out the Fenrir, causing another line that we need to deal with. Now, as long as we don't banish anything face down, we'll be in a good position. The issue we do have is every card we activate will get banished, triggering the Arise Heart, which will stack up its materials in order to banish 1 card we control. So, the first thing you're going to want to do here is I'm going to normal summon the Albaz, and I'm going to use this effect. Now, I know it's a bit risky because of the other cards we have, but I'm going to utilise the Spring Guns kit to get the most out of it. Keeping in mind as well that if this is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, which it won't be done, you can search out. So we're going to use the effect of Albaz. We're going to ditch this. This will allow us to fuse with our opponent's board. Now, it's at this point that you need to consider, because you're only going to fuse with 1 card, what is more valuable to you? Is it more valuable to you clearing out zones, or is it more valuable for you in order to trigger a Mirror Jade? And in this example, it's more valuable to me to trigger a Mirror Jade. So I'm going to contact the Albaz with the Rise Heart, and I believe these both go to the graveyard because they'll go to the graveyard simultaneously. So it's no longer banished. This will allow us to bring out Mirror Jade. Now, the reason it's important to get rid of the Rise Heart is because you wouldn't be able to use Mirror Jade otherwise. Our opponent would be quite foolish not to trigger the Fenrir to target the Mirror Jade to banish it face down. Absolutely fine, but we're going to chain the Mirror Jade effect. We're going to send from our extra deck as cost an Albion or any other one that you want to, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to non-target banish the Shangri-La face down. So obviously the Fenrir will resolve banishing the Mirror Jade face down, but because we chained to get rid of the Shangri-La, our zones are now all unlocked. So that's how important a normal summon of an Albaz is. It's crazy. So then what you want to do here is you want to activate Patchwork. Patchwork is going to allow you to search out Chain and a Poly. So Poly and a Chain. Now obviously the issue we do have is we don't have everything we need. So with this kit, you need to have a fusion monster with Albaz as material, which is a bit of a shame because what we would have loved to have had is have a branded fusion, and we would have been in dreamland. However, we can still make some plays with the Poly. We've got the ability to go into the Dramaturge. We can start clearing off some of those board plays right there, and in the end phase, we'll have the Albion. So we'll shuffle this up, and then what we're going to do here is you're going to activate the Poly. You could use the Chain if you wanted to get you a little bit further forward, but we're probably going to use both the Aluba and the Drama, because at least with those, Drama will then come back. So we'll go into, I mean, you can go Quinteris or Masquerade, doesn't really make too much of a difference, and then of course your Drama will come back. You'll then be able to kill both of the Fenrir and the Quinteris. And then what you can get is the end phase, you'll get the Albion effect, which will allow you to set up a branded in red play. So that anything your opponent does put on the board, you're going to be able to deal with quite nicely, because you've been able to stack up your graveyard with an Aluba. So that can be targeted and added back to the hand and then fused off. And you've also got the Albaz. Now, in an ideal scenario, what you're kind of wanting me doing there is you've broken a board, which is absolutely fine. What I wanted to display was the interaction with either opening up an Albaz for a normal summon or getting into Albaz through Fusion Destiny to kind of break a board apart. So it just kind of shows you that and then how much further you need to go. Obviously, if you add a Branded Fusion to that, which is your strongest card, you're able to go full combo, you'll complete an OTK and move your plays further forward. Anyway, I hope you found this informative and it gives you a couple of ideas on what you can do with a build like this and how it can be changed even though you don't have the consistency of the Bystials. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.